Hi, everyone. I'm just going to give those who are joining about 2 minutes to get in and to get settled, and then we will begin our webinar. Okay, perfect. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us over your lunch hour today for a webinar in sponsorship with EDR and NSBA. My name is Tanya Blayton-Gaza, and I'm the program lead here with WESC. Before we go any further, I just want to take a moment to say a big shout out to today's webinar sponsor, W Law. Now, today's topic is ensuring your success, key considerations for protecting your business. And this will be presented by Sarah Johnston. Now, Sarah is the owner and CEO of Johnston Insurance Broker. Now, throughout her presentation, if you have any questions, please go ahead and use the Q&A box to submit those questions. And in the interim, go ahead to introduce yourself using the regular chat box. You can share about your business, drop a business link, whatever you decide to share about yourself, please do so in the regular chat box. Now, as always, this webinar is being recorded and will be available for on-demand viewing. You'll receive an email tomorrow at this time with a link to the recording. Now, with that being said, I'll take myself out of the way and introduce Sarah to begin her presentation. Sarah?
Thank you, Tanya. Thanks for that wonderful introduction. And I'm also really grateful to WESC for having me here today and for all the attendees who are spending their lunch learning about insurance, which we all have to admit isn't always the most exciting topic. I'm not sure where all of our attendees are located, but I am currently in Saskatoon. And I'd like to acknowledge that we are on Treaty 6 territory, traditional lands of the First Nation and Métis people. We honor and respect the histories, language, and cultures of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and Ojibwe, and we, as well as all the Métis nations. We acknowledge the painful history of colonization and express our commitment to reconciliation. So when I first signed up to, do the WESC webinar, a few people, some early registrants, let's call them, sent a little message to me and said they're really looking forward to hearing about my journey into insurance and my current role. And while that's not what the topic is of this webinar, I do hope to share a little bit about my journey and how I got into the roles that I'm in today. So like all men and women that are joining us here today, I wear many hats. A few of the titles and responsibilities are listed here. But the most common question I get asked is, how did you get into insurance? The short answer would be that my mother was a woman entrepreneur and worked her entire career, 52 years, in the insurance industry and is still working in the insurance industry. So naturally, I would follow in her footsteps, right? Well, that's not really the true answer to its entirety. It's really more of a story of, I would say, like, never say never, which led me to where I am today. So I was born and raised in Rosetown. When I graduated from high school and went to university, I had no idea what I wanted to do. All I knew is that I did not want to be in insurance. I said I would never work in insurance. This could be because my mother had the gift of incorporating absolutely everything to insurance, and I mean everything. You try me. I will tell you, she somehow brought it back to insurance. When I got engaged, beautiful ring. Is it insured? Oh, you're going to go on a trip? Make sure you have travel insurance. That is honestly how growing up in my household was. We could link absolutely everything to insurance. So, as I mentioned, I went to University of Saskatchewan, and in my second year of university, I took a class called Organizational Behavior. And that's when I knew what I wanted to do. I absolutely loved HR. I absolutely loved people. I loved the psychological aspects of people and the human behavior. And so I knew when I graduated with a BCom in human resources that I would be working with people throughout my whole career. So my first job directly out of university was with Saskatchewan Blue Cross. And some of you were thinking, well, isn't Saskatchewan Blue Cross insurance? Well, yes, it is. But technically, I told myself, because I was working in HR and group benefits, holding roles in payroll and training and that sort of thing, that it really doesn't count as insurance, right? Well, lo and behold, after 11 years at Saskatchewan Blue Cross in multiple leadership roles and different areas of the business, I finally accepted that I was in insurance. I even got an opportunity to move to Regina for a promotion. Okay, let me step back a second. I should rephrase that. Some of you may not think there was an opportunity to move to Regina, but for me, it was. It was a great opportunity to move into a senior leadership role as a vice president of sales and marketing for a company called Group Medical Services, or GMS. I was leading national sales team and marketing team, and it was a really ideal job for me. I loved it so much. I got to work with all the different product lines, and it was really just a really wonderful role. And I was really content. I thought I'm probably going to be in this role forever. But that's when things took a turn. March 13th, 2021. I know you're all thinking COVID, right? Well, yes, that's absolutely right. COVID did happen. And frankly, some of the best learnings and resilience and taking risks will definitely come out of that and that experience for sure for COVID. But actually what I'm referring to and what I would say is more of a monumental change for me than COVID was I found out I was expecting my first child. So for many, when they have children, it's a time to step back and put their careers on pause, but not for me. I became focused on creating a future for my children and wanted to set myself up for a flexible and autonomous career where I could be with my family when I needed to be. This is when I founded Atlas York Consulting. I started doing HR consulting through word of mouth and referrals. At Atlas York, we do all forms of consulting from marketing, strategic planning, facilitation, executive compensation, engagement surveys, etc. During that same time, I returned to the property and casualty insurance industry where I first started. As I mentioned, my mother has been in the insurance industry for over 52 years now. And I had started my first job ever was actually in property and casualty in Rosetown working for her. So I returned back after, let's say, 20 years, and I moved my family back to Saskatoon. For those who don't know what property and casualty insurance is, it's like your home, your auto, your farm, travel, your commercial business and liability, which we'll be talking about today. I took on a senior vice president role at Knight Archer Insurance, and at that time would have been one of the largest independent brokerages in Saskatchewan and in the property and casualty insurance industry. This position allowed me to work from home and part-time in the office, which wasn't uncommon, of course, during COVID. But while employed at Knight Archer, I took my CABE designation, which is your certified insurance broker training and designation, and I fell right back into the insurance industry. I started to see several gaps in the insurance industry, and wanted to get more involved. And that's when I joined the Insurance Brokers Association of Saskatchewan Board of Directors, which today I'm the youngest chair in the organization's 71-year history, where I lead and guide strategic initiatives to support our members, which are located in 260 communities across Saskatchewan. So in addition to the Insurance Brokers Association of Saskatchewan, I also am actually involved in communities and volunteer and leadership positions, specifically ones that mean a lot to me and are in the industry. I'm the past chair of the Canadian Pension and Benefit Institute Regional Council, and I'm also director and board director, for Chartered Professionals of Human Resources designation. So while I was employed at Knight Archer Insurance, I found out that I was expecting my second child, who had just turned 1 2 weekends ago and had the most epic Barbie party. And of course, my nails are still bright pink from it. I think the party was more for me, but she's now 1 year old. And following on that trend of wanting to build a future for my family and an autonomous work environment, I decided to purchase Judy Johnson Insurance Brokerage with my partner, which is now known, and we refer to it as Johnson Insurance Brokerage. So just to tell you a little bit about Johnson Insurance, Johnson Insurance is a woman-owned and operated full-service property and casualty insurance and group benefits brokerage here in Saskatchewan. We represent various markets, a few of them that I'm showing you here, including home, auto, motor licensing, farm, commercial, health, travel insurance, and group benefits. I acquired Johnson Insurance with my partner. As you'll see here, she's not going to be happy that I'm putting her up here on blast here, but Bobby Wood. She's a lifelong friend and colleague. She worked with me at Blue Cross. She also worked with me at GMS. And so we've just always really worked very well together. And we decided to form a partnership and acquire Johnson Insurance. So we're really proud of what we've been doing over the last year. We have been nominated and are finalists for Brokerage of the Year. And I'm a finalist for CEO of the Year through Insurance Business Canada. And our company's revenues have grown by over 17% in the last year. And we are one of the top rated insurance brokerages in Saskatchewan. So we're quite proud of what we've accomplished so far. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a board director for these three lovely organizations. The reason I'm mentioning this is because a lot of the information that we're going to be going through, one of them is Board of Director Insurance. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that I do have quite a bit of experience working with a lot of the insurances that we're going to be discussing here. I also promised Canadian Pension and Benefit Institute that I would give them a little plug that they're having an event next Thursday. It's open to all people in the industry or people that want to go. It's free. So check it out, Canadian Pension and Benefit Institute here. There's one in Regina and one in Saskatoon. And then I also mentioned earlier that I do consulting as well through Atlas York Consulting is what it's called. It's been a couple of years now doing this. We do all types of different benefits as well. So this is something I also do when I have the spare time. You can imagine, not a lot of it. But here is by far my favorite title that I hold today, and that is Mom. I might even get teary-eyed, but this is my son Atlas and my daughter Elle and my husband Stephen. And as I mentioned, my consulting is named Atlas York. And so it's, of course, named after my son Atlas, and my daughter's middle name is Elle York. So Atlas York was the name of that organization. So that's where it came from. Things I'm hoping that we can discuss today or, can come through is some key takeaways, or what are the different types of coverages for businesses? What are the opportunities that are out there for you as business owners? Understand how insurance can help your business, the benefits of insurance, like professionals, and why you should probably seek out an insurance professional for some of your business needs, how to choose the right insurance, and then, of course, how insurance enhances your business credibility and your professionalism. So I want to start by just asking a question, and you can throw it into the Q&A. I'm just going to see if I can throw it up there. Yeah, okay, I can see it. Perfect. So my question is, what percentages of businesses do you think go without insurance? Which one of these things do you think is 25%, 44, 13, 16? Can somebody start writing in the chat? I'm interested to see what your guys' answers are. I'm not seeing anybody. No one's making any. Oh,
They're
perfect. I
answering
see a few there.
Yeah, in the chat.
Awesome. 13, 25, 44. Perfect. Thank you, guys. Well, the answer is 44%. So 44% of people go without insurance, do not have business insurance. And unfortunately, if you look at that 25% think they don't need it. And then there's 13% that think that their home or auto insurance or other aspects or other insurance will cover them. And 16% have never thought about it. So realistically, of all those that go without insurance, The other percentage that you're not seeing here is strictly just they believe it's too costly is the other answer that typically goes along with that. So it's pretty staggering. And as I threw up this picture here, for those of you, it's a little blurry, but know what this is. This is risky business. And so to me, that's really how I look at things. It's kind of staggering and a little bit terrifying, you know. And I'm seeing some comments here from Catherine. Kathleen has said that she's gone without business insurance because the 2 other times that she's had it, she got kind of taken around. So I'd be interested, Kathleen, to hear a little bit more about that afterwards, to hear what happened with your experience for sure. My goal here today is to take you kind of from this rolling the dice and being extremely risky, you know, on this side, and, you know, those who put a little bit less weighting on an insurance policy, to kind of switch you to this sort of view. I want you to put a little more weighting on that insurance policy and maybe have a little bit more balance of that risk tolerance. So that's my goal today, is just to educate you a little bit more about insurance and give you some opportunities to decide whether you need insurance. And not everybody needs insurance. So that's an absolute thing you'll have to evaluate here today as well. So a couple just terms that I'm going to reference a little bit here and make sure that everyone's familiar with is perils. So perils refers to specific like event or circumstance that can cause like damages or loss. So this is your earthquake, your water, your fire. Exclusions. So obviously there's specific provisions and conditions that, you know, an insurance policy does not cover, or there's limits or restrictions. Endorsements and riders, it is also like modifications or add-ons that you can add on to your existing policy. And deductibles. Deductibles is an amount of money that the policyholder agrees to pay before that out of pocket. You can play around with deductibles, make them larger, make them smaller, to impact whatever your current spending or budget is at this time. So moving into commercial insurance. So commercial insurance is often like the main one I would say that people are familiar with is property insurance. So this is for businesses and covers your buildings, your equipment, your inventory, and other assets owned by the business. So property insurance often will include liability coverage as well, which can protect the policyholder from your legal responsibilities if someone's injured on the property or if they cause damage to someone else's property, for sure. What you'll see here is some common covered perils. So we just talked about those perils. Some of the most common ones found under property insurance would be your fire, your lightning, your windstorm, your hail, theft, vandalism, and more. But what I really want to offer here is when I go through each one of these types of insurance, I'm going to show you the type of businesses that are most suitable to have this sort of coverage. So whether you're an office-based business, a restaurant, you're a manufacturer, you're a farm business, retail stores, warehouses, professional practices like your medical, doctors, dentists, etc., contractors, construction, even your not-for-profits. One might be surprised on here to see is home-based businesses, but a lot of the time people forget to tell their insurance provider for their home that they are operating a business out of their home. And so you can typically change that home insurance policy, you know, for that as well. If you have leased or rented spaces, hotels and hospitality, absolutely, there's tons. This is absolutely not a complete list. These are just a few of them that I've just mentioned here that if you fall into this category, it is something that you may want to be looking at, is to have your property insurance for sure. And so property insurance, I always like to try to tie things to something relevant so it's easy to remember, because it is quite a lot of insurance jargon and what have you. And so for me, it's like when your office decides it wants to decorate for unexpected water features, you know, flooding, a very common one, for example, covers your assets, your property insurance there. The benefits of property insurance, and again, this is not all of them. These are just a few that I thought I would really highlight here, is asset protection, as we just talked about, business continuity, allowing your business to continue operating. We'll talk a little bit about this one more with business interruption insurance, which is coming down the pipe here. Financial security, you have liability protection, that peace of mind. You're going to see that kind of peace of mind consistently throughout the slideshows here. Compliance with lender requirements. A lot of the times, if you're getting a mortgage or if you're leasing something, there will be requirements that you have to have this sort of insurance in place if you're not paying cash or if you're not, those sort of things. So Coverage for theft and vandalism. Unfortunately, this one's on the rise. Lots of vandalism and theft for sure. Protection against natural disasters. Unfortunately, this one, again, this year there's been a number of natural disasters. So I'm not saying that all benefit plans under property insurance will cover absolutely all of these things. You can customize your plan and determine what's best for you. But here's some benefits for you as a business owner to have property insurance in place. Property insurance is really what I call that shield that safeguards your business assets. So I'm going to try at the end to really make it so you guys can remember which ones are which, because there is quite a few. As I said, not everybody needs all these insurance coverages. These are just all the ones that are available right now to businesses that I think that would be really relevant to our entrepreneurs today. So moving on to commercial general liability. So commercial general liability it's a type of insurance policy that provides you with like a potential liabilities risk that faced by the business. So it's designed to protect businesses from like financial loss due to claims made against them for bodily injury. So property damage or personal or advertising injury. And we'll talk a little bit more about that one. That's your defamation or things of that nature. Common perils that are covered under this policy would be your bodily injury, your property damage, personal and advertising like slander, copyright infringement, fire, legal liability, products and completed operations, contractual liability, liquor liability, if you have a liquor license or you sell liquor. So some of the businesses that would really benefit from this is, again, office-based businesses, your restaurants and your bars, manufacturers, e-commerce business, retail stores, warehouses, your professional services, so your contracting, your things like that, construction, not-for-profit, agricultural business, tech startups, businesses, and again, those home-based businesses, you have to be careful there. If you're having people come in and out, if you're a service, if you're, doing nails or something like that, where you have clients coming in and out of your home, there's an opportunity that they could slip and fall, they could hurt themselves, injure themselves. Hotels and hospitality, of course. I think I have a question here from Wendy saying coverage for an independent contractor providing a service within another business. So yeah, absolutely, Wendy. If there is somebody, if you are working out of another business, absolutely, you have to have insurance to cover your contents and your aspects of that as well. We can talk a little bit about those too. A lot of times there's overlap, right, between your commercial liability policy, your property, and also your home. So we can talk a little bit about that and answer some of those questions as well moving forward. The benefits of a commercial general liability policy, it enhances your business credibility a lot. If people are feeling safe entering into your business and that you know that they can have that peace of mind, it's absolutely something that will give you as a business owner that sense of security. Legal defense costs and protections against lawsuits. Unfortunately, this is something that continues to be on the rise. Contractual liability coverage, property damage, as we mentioned, coverage for bodily injury and property damage, that's a big one. Medical expense coverages for maybe someone who does get injured on your property, those expenses could be covered. Personal and advertising injury, as I said, this is kind of that slander, that defamation of character that could be protected through this policy as well. Again, these are not all the benefits. These are just some of the benefits to mention of having your commercial and general liability. I like this one. I'm really referencing the movies here and maybe aging myself a bit, but I think of commercial general liability insurance as like the bouncer or the bodyguard for your business, because they're protecting that physical body, right? That bodily injury, they're protecting from some of those things. So that's how I differentiate it from, let's say, the commercial property. So it's a little bit different there. Moving on to professional liability insurance. And so this is the one that I would say that most people do not get. If they're consultants or if they're, like, as I said, like HR consultant like myself, they don't realize that they need it. We recently had a gentleman come to us to get liability insurance, and he's been running a consultant company for 20 years and had no idea that he needed it. And so came to us and got this professional liability insurance, which is also known as errors and omissions. A lot of times, like for an insurance, for example, we all have to carry errors and omissions insurance as a brokerage in order to maintain your license. In order to have a licensed brokerage, we do have to have this sort of coverage in place. And so it protects professionals from legal claims, financial losses arising from alleged negligence, errors or omissions in the performance of our professional duties or service. And so for this one, I mean, this is like, it happens. We make mistakes. We are not perfect. We will make errors. And this is what will help us and protect us from making those errors, especially as professionals and consultants. This is one that is definitely needed for sure. So the covered perils are professional negligence, failure to perform, breach of duty, misconduct, loss of documents or data. If you lose documents or data for one of the organizations that you're working for, they're of high value, professional misconduct, conflict of interest that may arise. You give improper advice as a consultant. So as you can see here, a lot of the individuals that should have this coverage are your medical and healthcare professionals, your lawyers, accountants and financial advisors, engineers and architects, consultants and advisors like brokerages, like I just mentioned, HR consultants, real estate agents and brokers, IT professional and software developers, insurance agents and brokers, event planners even, right? If you have a very large event and it goes array and you have to deal with that from a negligence perspective, right? A lot of this happens. A lot of this came up in COVID times, of course, right? So again, my reference here is 90s, I guess the oops, I did it again, Britney Spears. I think we could have a lot more comments about Britney Spears these days, but I referred to this as like the reputation and brand insurance. So having this professional liability insurance really protects your brand and who you are. Again, we're not expected to be perfect and not make errors, but when we do, those errors can be extremely costly if we aren't making sure that we have something in place that can protect us from that. One of them, I mentioned earlier that I sit on the board of directors for CPHR. One of our criteria here, this is probably really small and my apologies, but what I have circled here is that in order to be listed as an independent consultant through the directory on a CPHR website, you have to hold professional liability here. It says E&O insurance. So that is one of the criteria that we've put in place for CPHR to safeguard that we have the high credibility of individuals on our consultant directory. Otherwise, you can't be listed. So it's a way to help advertise your business as well and build that credibility. Some examples of claims I would say that fall under this sort of area is like a doctor, of course, being sued for medical malpractice after a patient alleges a surgical error, a lawyer facing a legal malpractice, from a claim to file important documents on time. Like that could absolutely happen. It cost you a lot of money if you're going through an acquisition or something of that nature and they didn't file in time and it cost you interest rates or, things change like that. So an accountant being sued for providing incorrect financial advice that led to a significant financial loss for a client. So these are all things that are very prevalent and that can happen at any time to those in those fields. So the benefits of professional liability, well, it's enhanced business credibility. I spoke of that, like you even being able to list yourselves on certain directories or on certain websites, you have to have that credibility. Legal defense costs, if you ever did have to go through a lawsuit there. Protection against professional and negligence claims. Protection for independent contractors and consultants. Protection against professional misconduct allegations. Coverage for inadequate work or services. So if you didn't complete the task that you had set out to do or are being accused of such thing. Contractual obligations and fulfillments, like there's just so many here on this one from a safeguarding perspective. So that's the reputation insurance, that professional liability there for consultants. And there's a lot more businesses that are starting up that are sole proprietors and think that, hey, I don't need this insurance. I'm just one person doing this, but really, you really do, because you're providing the same services. Doesn't matter if it's a large enterprise or not, right? Those risks are still the same. Another insurance that I mentioned earlier that some of you may be involved in, a lot of individuals sit on board of directors. I mentioned I sit on those 3 boards myself. And so, or starting up not-for-profits. A lot of the times people are starting up. I've seen a lot of new not-for-profits coming up and forming a board of directors. And something they may not be aware that they have to have or should have is this directors and officers insurance. Here's a picture of our CPHR board of directors, and it's timely with the National Truth and Reconciliation Day coming up. But this is something that we absolutely have on all the boards that I sit on. So this is a type of liability insurance that provides financial protection for individuals who serve as directors, officers, or leaders of organizations, including corporations, not-for-profit organizations, and other type of entities. Really, the biggest thing that it protects here is your personal assets from legal claims related to their management, your management decisions. So as a leader, you're protecting your personal assets, that people cannot come after you for your personal assets if you make mistakes or errors while in a director's or officer's position. So a lot of the places that should be looking into this would be publicly traded companies, private companies, not-for-profit organizations, startups and emerging companies, financial institutions, professional services firms, educational institutions, again, mergers and acquisitions. If you're heavy into mergers and acquisitions, this is a big one that you want to make sure that you have directors and officers insurance throughout those processes. Hospitals and health organizations for sure. The benefits of directors and officers insurance is it's a really, there's the personal liability protection, which is huge. You want to protect your family and your personal, assets from ever being subject to a claim because of a work aspect, right? It helps attract and retain talent. So it really helps you attract and retain qualified individuals to your board of directors and build that talent out. Financial stability, again, it's that extra layer of protection that is needed when you are forming board of directors and you are allowing responsibilities to be shared amongst a lot of people for your organization. So it really is that, I would say that personal liability is the biggest one here. And I would say this is maybe the number one insurance that people are not aware that they need, especially when it's on a small board of directors or things like that nature. So it's one that I don't think a lot of people are aware of. Business interruption. This is another form of insurance that I got a lot of, I would say, highlights or made the news a lot through COVID. So what I like to call business interruption, it's like the insurance. It's like having a rainy day fund, but for your business, because even entrepreneurs need a backup plan when Mother Nature decides to throw a tantrum. And this one hits, home for me because I have a 3-year-old. And so tantrums are on the daily. And, Mother Nature seems to be throwing a lot of tantrums lately. And it seems to be a little bit out of control with a lot of the wildfires and a lot of these things that are happening. So I feel like Mother Nature has been throwing a few tantrums our way. So business interruption insurance is really designed to help your business recover financially after a covered event disrupts the operations. And so the one that I think that most people are familiar with, again, is COVID. And I think that one was a huge one where you really, as a business owner, had no control over whether or not you could open your business or not. And so there was many lawsuits and filings for business interruption through COVID. And there's lots of readings on this one as well. But it provides you for lost income, ongoing expenses, and other related costs that may occur as a result of this interruption. So it could be regular perils like fire, smoke, natural disasters, a pipe burst or water damage. It can be vandalism or thefts, explosion, civil authority orders, which we just discussed, utility interruption, pandemic and epidemics, of course, acts of terrorism or sabotage, things like cyber insurance, those sort of things. We absolutely don't have control over these things. And so this really helps you allow to continue those business operations. And so office-based businesses, restaurants, bars, manufacturers, e-commerce businesses, retail stores, warehouses, professional services, hotels and hospitality, home-based businesses. All those sort of businesses are what I would say would really need this insurance. It helps you to be able to pay for your salaries for individuals if you can't cover that, or lost income. I'm sure that I have a slide on it here, so I'll just stick to it. But I would always, as I said, I'm trying to relate these different types of insurance to significant events or ways for you to reference them, because there is so many different types. And so for this one, I definitely would say that the easiest example is always going to be that COVID for business interruption. The benefits of business interruption insurance is like the continuity of the income. Like you mentioned there, you have to pay your people, you have to pay yourself, you have to get that income to come in. This business interruption insurance will cover a lot of those costs. Operating expenses, profits that you would have got or would have made if the business wasn't interrupted. If you have to be temporarily relocated to a different location, maybe it was a fire, something of that nature, some of those costs can be covered there. Recovery of loss of value in inventory, if you lost your inventory. Loan repayment assistance, because obviously if you can't pay your loans, if your business has to stop or halt operations. Protections against supplier and customer dependency, supply and demand, another one that was really interrupted, if you will, in COVID. Mitigates reputation damage. Of course, there's huge reputational risk here if your business all of a sudden one day has to close its doors, right? So these are all really important benefits of business interruption insurance. And there are coverages and policies that can cover pieces of all of these things that we're discussing. The next one I'm going to get into is cyber insurance, and that's usually a rider or something that falls under some of these insurances. So these all do not have to be purchased by themselves. That absolutely, I'm not trying to overwhelm you to make you think that you have to purchase all these individually. Absolutely not. These are things that an insurance professional can help you to know and understand what are the benefits and what sort of coverage you really need. Because you can also overinsure yourself or insure yourself for things that you don't need. And so it's really important that you talk to somebody who knows what they're doing in that area so that you can make sure that you are covered for all the right things. Cyber insurance. I promise this is almost the second last. There's only two more here, but cyber insurance is a big one for sure right now. Just a cute little joke here, but realistically, cyber insurance is on the rise due to a number of reasons. I think that some of the biggest reasons is the increase in remote work. That's one of the big ones. There's increased connectivity. Obviously, there's people that everyone's connecting. There's multiple devices on multiple platforms at all times. Lack of awareness is another really big one. Lack of awareness for just understanding, what does this mean? How am I exposed? We've heard a lot of terms around phishing and ransomware. Obviously, they're increasing. I get them daily. I've actually included one of the ones I received this week as an example, but cyber insurance is really to protect your business and individuals and organizations from the financial losses and liabilities resulting from these cyber-related incidents. So the common perils or things that are covered would be or I should say perils, that take place are network intrusions, social engineering attacks, identity theft, cyber extortion, regulatory fines and penalties, data breaches, cyber attacks, business email being compromised. And for this one, I didn't even bother listing the businesses, because all businesses of all size, if you are connected at all to sensitive information, handling any sort of transactions online or rely at all on computer systems, cyber insurance is a coverage that you're going to want to get, because I think that most people think that this cannot happen to them because they're too small. It happened to us. We luckily had all the things in place, to support it, but it can happen at any time. If your employees aren't educated on what an email might look like, I receive these almost on the daily. We use SharePoint in our organization. And here I got an email, what seemingly is coming from within our HR team, saying, here, scan this, look at, this quick access to a document. This is absolutely not coming from within our organization, but they've done such a wonderful job of making these emails appear to be coming from your organization. You always got to look carefully. Like you can see here, this is not our domain. This is not comms at fish okie chokey bee, I guess, or whatever it is that it's saying there. So those are some of those red flags, but I'm not going to get into cyber insurance too much because it's a whole new beast, but definitely some benefits of cyber insurance is just that data breach response costs that can come out of a data breach, cyber extortion protection if you are getting extorted, business interruption and loss of income. I talked a little bit about that and how they can be combined. So sometimes business interruption will have cyber insurance and vice versa on their policies, so you don't have to buy them separately. Financial protection against any sort of cyber incident, legal and regulatory compliance. Lots of times you'll have to have something in place. You'll have to have some sort of protection in place before businesses will do business with you. Coverage for ransomware attacks, data restoration and recovery, because often they can completely ruin all your data and you have to start from scratch. Notifications and public relations costs. So, if you have a breach of some sort, it's privacy policies and things of that nature, you have to notify and let your people know if they've experienced a breach. So there's some costs that come with that as well. So there's quite a few benefits of cyber insurance for sure. And the last type of I would say insurance that I would recommend that businesses look into for sure is group benefits. And so group benefits, really, there is just a number of different coverages that come along with group benefits. So this is your health insurance, your massage, your chiro, your vision benefits, your disability benefits, your short-term and long-term disability, life insurance, dental benefits, your emergency medical benefits, your ambulance, your hospital cash, travel insurance. There's so many wonderful new programs, wellness programs out there. There's employee family assistance programs where you can get access to counseling and lifestyle services and things of that nature that can help improve the work-life balance of your organization. So there's endless. I could have an entire presentations on this area alone, but one of the things that I did want to just touch on, because a lot of the times we're dealing with some smaller groups, and one of the things that we have to realize is there's so many myths out there of group benefits that people just don't understand. Like people believe that only group benefits, group benefits only for large companies. That's absolutely not true. You can have as low as 3 employees and get covered for benefits. There's tons of small group options out there, and some with lots of flexibility. It's often thought that they're too expensive. There's lots of affordable options. You can customize them to make sure that you have the right coverage for what your stage of business is at. Group benefits are a one size fits all. That's absolutely not true either. As I said, you can customize it to fit what you're looking for in your organization, for what your demographics and what the needs are of your employees. Another myth is that only full-time employees are eligible for group benefits. That's another one. So no, part-time employees, of course, they are covered as well, as long as they're working the 20 minimum hours a week. I mean, a week. Let me think of that. Depends. 20-hour minimum, that they also can be eligible for benefits as well. Group benefits are only health insurance. As I said, it's evolved so much now. There's so many wellness and lifestyle. There's more diversity inclusion happening in the benefits, and there's a lot of, I would say, flexible benefit options now, in addition to the traditional benefit offerings. So definitely more than just health insurance for sure. Group benefits are too complicated to administer. So, I mean, that's why you work with an insurance professional. A lot of the organizations, I have an example here of Saskatchewan Blue Cross. They're one of the benefit providers. They have so many tools now available. I've showed there's an app there, and how to submit a claim, how to add a new employee. All those sort of tools have all been just really advanced and are a lot easier to do from like a payroll perspective if you're an administrator or an HR individual in your organization for sure. Group benefits are only for older employees. Definitely not. There, as I said, there's a lot of new lifestyle. You can be very, very healthy. It doesn't mean that you don't want to use some of the preventative service like the massages and the chiropractors, or some of the employee family assistance programs. And group benefits are not necessarily for healthy employees. Again, that one's just absolutely not true. Group benefits are a one-time decision. So that's the other thing, is that you don't have to make the decision. Let's say you're a startup and you have 3 employees and you think that you're going to grow to 10 in the first year and you're going to grow to 20 in the next. It's a very fluid discussion, and that's why you work with an insurance professional, so that you can have the discussion as you grow. What do those benefits have to look like? What can they change? You review them with your insurance professional, and they'll walk you through to say, yeah, no one's claiming under this. I mean, well, that could appear great that there's no one claiming. It could mean that they don't value that service, right? And so that's some of the ways that an insurance and benefits consultant can really help you through this decision. So those are just some of the myths I hear a lot, especially dealing with small businesses, that they think that it's not attainable for them in their organization, which is not the case. Some of the benefits of group benefits of group benefits, sorry, I didn't really think about that one when I was writing it, is attracting and retaining talent. So you have to have some form of benefits nowadays. I feel very old when I keep saying the phrase nowadays, but really in terms of competition, it's kind of the baseline to have benefits. People do expect them. There's competitive advantages. You can do things differently with your benefit package. You could do something unique that attracts certain individuals. It increases employee satisfaction. There's stats, numerous stats on this. Improved employee health and wellness, financial protection for employees. There's tax advantages for an employer. There's support, work-life balance, as I mentioned. There's enhanced productivity when people know that they have this coverage. So there's just too many benefits to list for all of these, to be honest. So that group benefits was the last insurance that I wanted to kind of mention today. But I really wanted to give some time for some questions, and if people wanted to ask, just a little bit more about maybe their specific situation. But before that, I just wanted to say, it's all about choosing the right insurance. And I've said it now a couple times, but I would recommend to contact an insurance professional. That could be an insurance broker like ourselves. It can be an agent that works directly for an insurance company, employee benefit consultant when you're looking at your group benefits, insurance company. So lots of insurance companies do sell direct. That is another option as well. The benefits of working with an insurance professional are just kind of endless. There's a lot of expertise and knowledge, lots of tailored advice. We have access to a variety of policies. I showed you on one of the first slides there a number of the partners we work for and with. It's endless. So we are able to provide you with a lot of options, so you're not stuck with maybe one option or one insurance company. Risk management strategies. There's claims assistance. So we can help you with your claims once they arise. We can help advocate for you during the claims process. We can review your policies and updates. We'll go through the renewals with you, make changes. We can help save you costs and time, a lot of time, compliance and legal requirements. We have to stay abreast of this so we can educate you on that and see what is needed for your industry. Most importantly, I would say, is peace of mind and that advice piece. So I really do think that if you're feeling overwhelmed by hearing all these different types of insurance today, I wouldn't. A lot of the times the answer when people come to us is you maybe don't need that insurance right now, or you're covered under a different policy. And so we can help you to make sure that you aren't overinsured as well. So, sorry there. I'm going to just share. I just wanted to share because insurance is extremely boring to many. But one here is just, this is an interesting fact, I guess. The most expensive insurance policy ever sold was a painting by Vincent van Gogh titled Portrait of Dr. Gadget, and it was insured for $160 million. So that's just an interesting little fact there. And lastly, I like to play two truths and a lie, but in this case, I'm interested in for you guys here. There are three truths insurance here and one lie. And I'd like you to use the Q&A to tell me which one you think is the lie. Which one is not an insurance coverage that's available? I've got acts of war, alien abduction, fantasy sport. Well, you guys, one person was right. Acts of war insurance is the actual one that is not an insurance type. Alien abduction insurance is a real thing. Mustache insurance, also a real thing. You can insure your mustache with Lloyd's of London if you really want to. Fantasy sports insurance is available. It's there. I really think that if you tried to go online and Google what is not available for insurance, it would be hard for you to find something. Acts of war insurance, there is like some very, very slight for maybe large organizations, but realistically, there's just really no coverage, unfortunately, for war. So that is what I'll leave it with, you guys. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to stick around for any questions that people may have. Here's all my contact information. Please feel free to send me a note if you have a question about your own individual business and what coverage you may need. Happily help walk you through that and look into that further. If we can't help you, we'll absolutely recommend somebody else that can help you out as well. So I thank you all for your time, and hopefully you have a good remainder of the rest of your lunch.
Sarah, if you wish, we do have a few questions in the Q&A if you want to spend about 3 minutes to answer those. If depends on what you want.
Yeah, I think that so one of the first questions here was just, will slides be made available to participants? And I think the answer is yes. You're going to send that out tomorrow, right? Is that correct, Tanya?
That's correct. I can do that.
Yeah. And then coverage for leased or rented space. Yes, absolutely. There's contents insurance. There's a number of different coverages that are available for that, Wendy. Coverage for an independent contractor providing a service within another business. Yes, can look at specific policies for you for that coverage as well. We have here an individual that's starting a mobile foot care business. Would I look at getting commercial, general, professional, business, and cyber? So Lisa, sometimes with mobile businesses, there's some different speculation, or not speculation, sorry, I would say criteria that we have to go through. And so what we would do there is we'd go to some of our specialty markets and see what they would like to cover. And so what options would be available for you, Lisa. So that's one of the ones that we can take a look at there from a commercial position, and we'll see what exactly your services you're providing and that sort of thing before we would tell you which one of those insurances you would need for sure. Any other questions coming in? Oh, perfect. I'm not seeing any other questions right now, but
Okay.
yeah, well, thank you, everybody.
That's it. Well, thank you, Sarah, so much for that informative presentation on how we can ensure our success by insuring our business. That was actually really good. And thank you, each and every one of you who joined us today. Just a reminder, you will be able to view this webinar on demand on our website by the end of this day. Our next webinar is October 18th. Do check out our website to register for that. Also, on a different note, if you are interested in marketing strategy, we do have a virtual marketing strategy workshop this evening at 5 o'clock. So if you're interested in marketing strategy for your business, go ahead and register for that. On that note, thank you again, Sarah, so much. And thank you, everyone, for joining. Do enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you again soon. Bye.
Bye.